everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel and happy new year. This is my first video of 2021, so welcome back. I feel really rusty at this. I just had to film the intro a few times and I'm already out of breath. So today's video, as you will have seen from the title, is talking about shelf styling. So before we even began our house hunting, and I had been like saving home images on Pinterest, not knowing at all like what our house would look like, just inspo basically of like one day. Loads of the images had this very similar setup of these cabinets and shelves in the alcoves, and when we came to look at this house, one of the first things, because as you come, this is like the first room that you come into, I saw the alcoves and I was like, oh my god, I could do the cupboards. The cupboards, they're like I've dreamt of, and I just love them so much. And literally it's been so handy having Tom as a carpenter, because these are all bespoke made to like fit perfectly in there. They're actually all fitted, so if we ever moved, like we couldn't take them out, they are fitted in. So before we get into the styling of it, I wanted to show you the kind of layout of our shelves. Because the alcove gap is actually quite wide, if we just had the shelf with none of the kind of separators in it, it would actually end up bowing, because there's kind of no support from the middle. Where it's quite long, if you put a lot of weight on it, it would actually start to dip in the middle. So that is why we've put these extra bits in. They are decorative, but they're also to structurally kind of support it and keep it all nice and sturdy together. Also, as you'll see, there is a little bit of wood running underneath the shelf. It is just to support them even more. Right here we have got 3 shelves, and on the other side we've only got 2 shelves, and that is because the TV was going on that side, so we needed a big enough space for the TV and then have the shelves above it. Before I get into my styling tips, I just want to say that I am not an interior stylist. These are just little things that I think really help me. I have spent hours and hours rejigging these shelves, putting something like somewhere, stepping back, looking, no, that doesn't work, trying different ways. I have spent hours doing it. I enjoy doing it so much. I just find it so therapeutic, and when it's all finished, I love it. Over the last few days I've been thinking about what goes through my mind when I am doing this, so I've been making some notes. So I've got my notes on the floor so that I don't miss anything off and I can share with you all of my knowledge. So my tip number 1 is to style things in 3. This is kind of flexible, not everything is styled in 3s, but if you're styling smaller items, I think 3 is a good number to kind of put together. And I'm going to show you a few examples. On this shelf here, we have this small little candle that I've put at the front because it's the smallest. My mum and dad actually made these. They had loads of logs in their garden, chopped them up, and then cut a hole for the tea light, and they're just really sweet, so I've put that there as well. And then I've also just got a vase with some ponytail grass in there as well. And I just quickly want to touch on my tip number 2, which I will go to in more depth in a minute as well. But another tip is to, in your mind, imagine a triangle. So you see here, we've gone from the out up, so you always want to add some height in there. Yes, so you can see this kind of goes up. So that's what you want to think. You want to sort of see this triangle going up. So back to tip number 1 of styling things in 3s. Another example is here. I've got 3 items here and here. I guess this could be classed as 4, but I'm going to class the candle and the cloche as 1. Another example of the 3 is on the top here. So I've got the shell dish, the vase with the bunny tails, and the candle, and as you can see, that's 3, and also the bunny tails and that vase is giving it some height, pulling it up into the triangle, and I think using that technique gives it good balance. But then again, with the 3, I've got 3 items here, but these are just spread out as kind of individual items, but I think 3 things sitting together just balances it out well. My tip number 3 is sticking to one colour palette. So my colour palette in here is whites, creams, kind of natural tones and blacks. I think they work really well together. If you want to add a brighter colour, then you can, but I would just add one. For example, upstairs in our bedroom, we have some colour pops of the orange terracotta colour because I've got the Louis Vuitton book and I've got that big shell vase, both in that terracotta colour. So I keep those things together. I've actually taken them out of here because I felt like they just weren't working. So I've put those in the bedroom. So keep the same colours kind of together. For the living room, I've only got one colour palette, which is, as I said, the kind of whitey creams, natural colours and blacks. So they work really well together. And then number 4 is to balance those colours. So I'll show you what I mean. You see we have some black on this sculpture here, and then we have this black vase over here as well. And I put them at each end of the shelves so that you've got that balance, because I think if we was to put this in here, you would have 3 black items very close together. So I feel like that gives it more balance by having them at either ends of the shelf. Tip number 5 is to use books. This is one of my favourite things to use while styling. Coffee table books are perfect for this kind of styling, and when we moved into this house I had one, I think, and now I have quite a lot that I move around and I'm using all the time for styling. They range quite a lot in price. I've bought all of mine from Amazon. If you're not sure which one you'd like, just type in coffee books on Amazon. They have a really good range. As I said, I've got all of mine from there. I've got the Kinfolk Home one and the Soho Home Eat, Drink, Nap book. I have flicked through these books, and in the Eat, Drink, Nap books they do have some amazing recipes. So I'm actually going to make the macaroni and cheese from the Soho Home book soon. Another one I have put here, this is the White Company book. Again, it's just white and black. It's very simple and it's just a really nice piece just to add to the styling. Tip number 6 is to mix up the textures. Dried grasses and dried flowers, they add a really nice texture in. And then with this large vase up here, this adds really, really nice texture in. Using different textures just adds interest and just changes it up a little bit. And I love using dried flowers and dried grasses. I will show you all of the dried grasses that I've got because I think this is a really, really good way of adding in texture. All of these grasses I'm about to show you, you can buy them from Etsy or Amazon or online somewhere. These are called bunny tails. I love them. Gorgeous colour, really cute, and just they add height. I think that's a really important thing with creating the triangle. You want to add height, and using these dried grasses and dried stems add the height that you need. This is a cotton plant. Love the wood stem and then the white fluffy cotton balls. I've got some more of the cotton plant there. More of the bunny tails up there, and here I've got some dried eucalyptus. I think this looks absolutely incredible. Dried eucalyptus, so easy. Basically just buy a bunch of eucalyptus, keep it in water. When it is coming to an end, empty out the water and just let the stems dry out, and then I've cut them down and put them in this little vase. So my next tip is to use artwork to fill big spaces. So as you can see, we have got quite a big area to fill here. This is just a print from Desenio in an IKEA frame. Just leaning it against the wall, this adds a bit of height and it just fills an area, adding a little bit of print just as a bit of interest, but keeping the colours within the colour scheme and the colour theme. So we've got white, like that natural colour, and also black in there as well. Once it's all done, it looks kind of easy to do, but honestly, when you're starting with a blank canvas, it can feel really overwhelming, and literally sometimes I just don't have an idea on where to start. But how I have found the best way to start is to add the big items in first, because you want to balance those. So we've got the big vase here, I put this in first, the lanterns in first, and the big shell up there first. I would say they are probably the biggest items on the shelf, so put those in first and then you can fill in the gaps. So that is all of my shelf styling tips. I really hope you have found this useful and helpful. I have waffled on so much in that video, so I'm going to really quickly recap the main points just to make sure you have got everything clear and concise. So, looking down because I've got my notes. I can't remember all of this off the top of my head. Number 1 is to style in threes. Number 2 is to use height to create that triangle. Number 3 is to stick to one color palette, and if you're going to add an accent color, just use one and stick to that throughout that room. Number 4 is to balance the colors. Remember, kind of spread those colors out. With the black items, I've spread those out so we don't have blocks of the same color. Use books as props. These are great for filling the shelves and layering into your threes. Mix up the textures, dried flowers, dried grasses, different textured vases, those kind of things really add interest and mix things up. Use artwork to fill big spaces. When your shelves are empty and you are starting to style it, remember to put the big things on first, balance those out, and then you can fill in the gaps with your smaller items. The final tip is just to enjoy it, like play around. I would say don't do this when you're tight on time. If you've only got half an hour, forget it. Like just on a weekend or whenever you've got a couple of hours, now is an amazing time in lockdown because you will have that time to take everything off the shelf and just play around. As I said, when I do these, I spend hours doing them, just playing around, knowing what is gonna work, what isn't gonna work, and yeah, just enjoy it, have fun, play around, and you learn something from each time you do it. So each time you come to do it, it will be so much easier. So this is upstairs, and I just wanted to show you the orangey terracotta colour that I was talking about, taking it out of the living room, putting it in the bedroom and keeping it all together. So as you can see, we've got this vase here and the book. They're the main kind of terracotta items. And then just to tie in with this kind of orangey theme, I've added in this orangey coloured grass, and I've pulled in the tortoise shell pieces as well. I feel like this looks really good together. And just another example of the styling in threes. I've got 3 here, 3 here, and I've used the artwork on the top shelf to fill in that big space there. So glad that I moved these orangey tones out of the living room because they look so nice together here, and because the bedroom is a very neutral area, it's really nice just to add a gentle pop of colour. Really hope that this has been helpful, interesting and fun to watch. If you did enjoy this video, I'd love if you could hit the like and subscribe button, and I'll see you around here soon for more. Bye!